So yes, I won't talk about what we plan to do, but what we did and even what we did and removed because it was a bad idea. So we started working on Berty 4 years ago, and we actually had multiple iterations, but always privacy was one of the foundations of what we plan to do. So Berty is a messenger application that runs on mobile phones that doesn't depend on a central consensus, so no blockchain, but also no internet. We want to embrace local first approach where you can create a network with just 2 devices isolated from the internet. Yes, privacy for us has always been a goal, both by being private in terms of encryption, but also by leaking as low metadata as possible. So yes, we started 4 years ago. Actually, 3 years ago for the first IPFS Camp, we won the most OMG features with our Bluetooth Low Energy driver. And actually, we keep building, and we are IPFS-centric, backed by IPFS technically on every part of the project. By design, so we have a messenger which is often and very common encrypted. It's also peer-to-peer like many other messaging applications, especially during this event. But we have another constraint which is mobile, which has performance constraints and UX constraints. For example, we try to have something that looks standard for people used to use WhatsApp or any other applications. So an onboarding, contact list, etc. But internally, many things are very different. When you start working on a messenger, and you say you work on a messenger, people will, by default, have a lot of expectations and a lot of habits. That's why I speak about peer-to-peer privacy and UX. For instance, we have a reloading part that is actually fake. It won't do anything, but people want to think that it makes something because application is just something that have an upload stream and download stream that receive events. And actually, when you do reloading, we don't have anything to say, hey, force the peer-to-peer to work. So we try to make things that looks like good in terms of UX, even if it's no sense in terms of technical stuff. Additionally to trying to look like common and be usable by anyone that has a lot of habits, we want to show our uniqueness. So by default, if you lose your network, your 4G connection, we will add a message inviting you to enable Bluetooth, which is clearly not common on other applications. By default, if you look at your messenger list, your contact list, you will see, oh, you are connected right now with BLE, with Wi-Fi, over 4G, etc. We can add some details and some visual icons to show you how many peers you have, by which means, etc. So actually, we want to show uniqueness, but we also want to educate people so they have proof that they are using peer-to-peer and not relying on normal HTTP central servers. And for example, the challenge when you want to be good at peer-to-peer privacy and UX, here we have the visual indicator of current peer-to-peer network, which is very abstract in the IPFS and P2P ecosystem. We had multiple iterations to progressively go to the 7th and final version, which is just the best way we have to show how much you have a good network strength that does not depend on the top right indicators about Wi-Fi and 4G. We have a dedicated strength that is completely unrelated to that metrics. So now focus on the technical parts, so the parts that are not physical but that are inside the protocol itself. IPFS is known to be very content-oriented, and we are topic-oriented because we are not just delivering websites, but we are actually making rooms where people can read and write. So we don't look for CIDs, etc. We look for topics, and that's a big difference. So this is mostly thanks to OrbitDB. One other thing we did is that we don't, since a conversation is a CID is immutable, but a topic is mutable, we can have things like privacy-oriented features, like making the topic changing every hours, thanks to TOTP. So like when you connect on Google with 6 digits, actually the topics will change every hours, and as soon as you have the TOTP hash, you will know, as any other devices, where to look for. Another thing is about desktop versus mobile. On desktop, you have very long time processes, so it makes sense to have a known and cached peer for other people, so people know they can ask you many things. On mobile, we have very short uptime, the IP address is always changing. So actually, since we don't care that much about the peer address and the peer ID, we decided for privacy reasons to rotate it very often. So we can rotate the peer ID and be looked at like something completely new for each other devices. Another thing is about alias identity. We wanted to make privacy for conversation where you don't know everyone. Actually, with IPFS, it's common to try to list all the peers having a common CID. And by doing this, you can easily know who are in the group. We wanted to make something harder to detect with an alias identity. So by default, everyone is not using a non-identity in the group. And the way we use to show you that I am your known contact is to actually send you a proof on another mean. By default, everyone is unknown, but I can prove that my temporary identity is attached to my known identity. We have replication nodes, which is something important in mobile because we cannot have always all the devices connected at the same time. But our goal is to make replication not able to help in terms of peer-to-peer and relays, but not able to read the messages. So basically, our ICLs can be limited to just follow a topic, a thread, and be able to relay because it will get the CIDs, etc. But they won't have the key to decrypt the conversation itself. We have a secret handshake, which actually is completely outside of the IPFS and P2P ecosystem, but it's a way to add an additional way of encrypting messages over P2P. So basically, we want to make a way to add a contact that is not related to his current peer ID, and we want to make the handshake secret, so you won't prove that you are you, and you won't the requested people won't prove that he is this person, except at the end of the process, which involves that you have proofs that you are that person without giving the actual address. Recently, we changed something because the word privacy comes like a messenger with a lot of expectations, and we decided to change our positioning from privacy-first messenger to extreme communication, because in one way you are waiting for a WhatsApp killer, in the other way you are waiting for something that will work in extreme conditions, even if it takes more time. So we decided to keep the privacy very important and in the heart of Berty without giving too much expectation in terms of experience. And yes, this is about the UX and peer-to-peer. You are building applications for Web 2 people that are Web 2 habits, but with Web 3 constraints. So it's always a trade-off between privacy, UX, performances, etc. And I think you will also need to find the trade-off, to choose the trade-off, and to sometimes go outside of an extreme, probably for good reason.